Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. In today's video, we're going to talk about taking back your control, how to stop debt collectors from running your life, from trying to really ruin your life. And I decided to make this video because one of the, when on my YouTube comments, in my live chat comments, the way that people ask for help, they'd be like, help, help, help. Like sometimes people they're like, Steve, I want you to understand I need help. So they'll say like, help, help, help. They're like typing this out as if they're right in front of me saying, I need your help. So because debt collectors are buying billions of dollars worth of debt, they're in the business of collecting on that money. You better bet that every debt collector, they're not buying this debt just to play some game with people. They have a goal of collecting as much as possible. And if you have debt collectors sending you letters, the first thing you need to do is you need to understand that you do have rights. And debt collectors can make it seem like it's a storm coming down on you. They constantly hanging over your head. They're calling at all hours or threatening letters. Just an endless pressure to try to make you have to pay that debt. And they make you try to forget that you have power. They try to make you feel like you're trapped, like you have no alternatives. And this is the game that they play, is that they want you to, in a way, just have fear thoughts in your mind and no thought process about any solutions. And let me tell you something. I've talked to people who were debt collectors. This'll blow your mind when I tell you this story. A guy that worked in the debt collection office at one point in his life. And when he knows what they can and can't do, but when they approached him about a debt that he owed, another debt collection company approached him about a debt he lost it. He lost his thought process about what he knew they could and couldn't do because they try to get you emotional. When someone is coming and they're sending you letters and they're making threats, and in the back of your mind, you don't want them to touch your money. You don't want them to hit your bank accounts. You don't want them to garnish your wages. You don't want them to embarrass you in front of family and friends, calling your references that were on the application, saying, hey, have you seen where Jim is? Or we're trying to get in touch with Jim. And on that caller ID, it has some portfolio recovery or LVNV or some debt collection attorney's caller ID on there, and then they're calling you up, your friends and family. Hey, this person called me and they're trying to contact you. What's going on? That's the game that they play, and they don't want you. So just so you know, because I know how we are as humans, is that you're not alone. There's millions of people who are going through this every day. Millions of people going through it. And here's the truth. Debt collectors don't hold as much power as you think that they might. You do have rights. You have rights that they can't harass you. You have rights on the way that they can contact you. But the thing about it is that you got to take your power back, and you got to know how can you force them to understand that you know your rights. The first step to knowing your rights is to know that all debt collectors are legally bound by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. They're legally bound by following the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Now, you might, if you're not familiar with it, or even if you are familiar with it, a debt collector, unless they're just totally rotten, they're not going to just straight up violate your rights with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. They're not going to just like do something and where it's just like black and white that they violated your rights. What they do is they skirt and they utilize loopholes. Let me tell you about a loophole that they skirt. Debt collectors are not allowed to call you more than 7 times per week. If they do not get you on the phone, they can only call 1 time per day. If they get you on the phone, that's called an engagement, and they have to wait another 7 days unless you give them permission to call you back. And an engagement doesn't mean that something was worked out. It doesn't mean that you admitted to something. It doesn't mean any of that. All it means is that, according to the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, that they cannot contact you for another 7 days. If they do not get in touch with you, they can only contact you 7 times in 7 days. And that does not mean that they can call you 7 times and then email you 7 times, hit you up on your DMs and social media 7 times. No, that is a violation. But most people don't put those two things together. They're thinking, oh, it must be the phone, it must be the email, it must be hitting me up in social media. And yes, they can hit you up on social media. But every time they make a connection, attempted connection to try to contact you, that's one contact. So you do not have to worry about proving if they overdid their 7 and 7 rule. Because if you have proof of it, they're in violation. So what you have to understand, and please hear me out on this, like the most predominant thing that I do with this job, with the credit repair shop, is that we calming people down, because the anxiety, the frustration, the not knowing what to do, it gets people unbalanced. So what I want you to do, step 1 is you got to stay calm. Step 2, demand a debt validation. And if you don't know what a debt validation is or how to put one together, I'm going to give you a letter at the end of this to help you be able to do that, or you can look at some of my other videos that I've put together. And then step 3 is you got to take action. You got to take action, not try to take action. You have to take action. That means you got to do something about it. So to stay calm, that means that you don't let your fears guide your response. You got to think out through the whole process. I was just on a phone call earlier today, and most of the call was just to get the individual to understand that you have to start to think without the fear. And some people will say, well, I'm not fearful. I'm not. Well, then you're thinking with anxiety, or you're thinking with the not knowing. Like, it's not, this stuff affects people in different ways. But I can tell you the most common ones is people either fearful, and it's not just because you're scared. You're not scared of a debt collector. You're scared of waking up and not having your money. You're scared of not being able to take care of the things that you got to be able to take care of. You're not just fearful for no reason. You're fearful because of not knowing the end result of the situation, not knowing what's going to happen next. A lot of people get scared because they got to think that they got to know everything to be able to move forward in life, and that they get paralyzed because it's like, if I don't know what's going to happen, I'm not going to do anything. And understanding that if you don't do anything, you're making a decision not to do anything, and that is something. Doing nothing is something. So you demand a debt validation letter because we at least want to make them understand that it's not just going to be the same old dealing with you over someone else who's paralyzed, scared, and not doing anything about it. And when you take action, you make sure that you have a unclouded mind. And if you've spoken to them over the phone, if they sent you emails, if they hit you in the DMs, you need to make sure that they did not violate any of your rights. If you haven't yet, please search for my video on how even a debt collection letter must be sent to you to even be legally sent to you. They cannot use third-party mailing services to send you a letter about a debt that they claim that you owe. They can't have the fonts be one size with the part that talks about what you owe and then have it small about your rights to dispute that debt. They have to tell you that you have a right to dispute any or all of the debt. They have to tell you who the original creditor was. That's just on their letter. And then your debt validation can make all types of requests that they prove everything about that debt. It's not just about a few statements. It's not just about a contract. It's everything. How did they come into control to even have the right to come after you for that debt? So I know that that's a lot, and I know that I get, you know, because I love helping you. So I get excited, and I just want to help people be able to maneuver their way through it. And I know with the requests that we have that I'm just not able to help everybody. And so that's why I make these videos. So let's look at it this way. Imagine that you took action and that there was a life where the debt collectors are not going to be able to invade you. They're not going to be able to stand tall over you and take control over your thoughts, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to take domination over your thoughts. That they're trying to get you to not take action. They're trying to get you to be unbalanced and trying to get you to think about everything except for the rights that you have when dealing with a debt collector. So what I'm asking you to do is, if you have a debt collector that is sending you letters in the mail, I want you to take action on responding to that debt collector. First thing that I want you to do is I want you to make sure that the debt is not past the legal statute of limitations to collect. Next thing that I want you to do is I want you to make sure if it is past the legal statute of limitations to collect, you send them a letter that I'm going to give you to let them know that you have no legal obligation to pay that debt, and no debt validation is even required if it's past the legal statute of limitations for them to be able to come after you. If you notify them that it is past the legal statute of limitation and you want them to cease all collection activities, they have to do it. You have no moral obligation to pay that debt if you don't believe you have a moral obligation, and they have no legal remedy to be able to make you pay that debt. No legal remedy. They can't take you to court. They can't do anything with the courts to make you have to pay that debt if it's past the legal statute of limitation. If the debt is not past legal statute of limitations, your choices are to send them a debt validation, and that debt validation needs to be detailed enough to make them think that this is not going to be dealing with the regular, ordinary individual that we're always used to dealing with. That you're going to actually make them prove every step of the way that you have to pay that debt. And there is nothing wrong with doing that. When a debt collector buys your debt, they take on that responsibility. It is not like they could just come to you, walk off the street, and say that you owe this debt and here's one statement for it, or you owe this debt, here's a few statements. It's not just about that. If all of the other documents were not important, why would the courts, why would the Supreme Court, why would the state courts, why would the state Supreme Courts, all of these, the CFPB, and all of these state and federal organizations and agencies, why would they even make it a rule? Why would they make it a law? Why would they even put it in action if it didn't mean anything? What the debt collection companies want you to think is that none of that stuff is important. All you need to focus on is the amount that they say that you owe. And so you get fearful, you clam up in a shell, and you don't do nothing. Today, that day is gone. If you're still watching this video, excuse me, those days are gone. Moving forward, this whole credit repair shop, we are going to be even telling people even more. It's time to take action. Right now, our world is transforming. Things are going to be totally different. And if you're in the position with your credit, you're in the position with having lower amounts of debt, you're going to be able to move forward without the frustration and the obstacles that are holding other people back. But the only way to get that going is to take action right now. So if you need help with your credit, please visit us at creditrepairshop.com. Watch the video what makes us different so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website yourthenumber3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters: statute of limitations letter, debt validation letter, and cease and desist collection activities letter. Take action. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. Let's make a difference. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.